That which originally was tangible and experienced near the bodies of the jinas is now intangible and experienced far, while that which is experienced far, the qualities of the inner soul, appears to be experienced near, both in the perception of the ideal pilgrim and in the abstract commemorative representation of the liberated arhat, the jina image at home. As the pilgrim advances, its perceived connection with the jina's relics of use is conceived as a form of empowerment. How is this possible? The popular Jain view is that ascetic powers can be transmitted through direct physical contact, but not through symbolic acts of commemoration. This belief contradicts Jain karma theory, but arguably makes sense in a functionalist socio-psychological framework. From the point of view of the doctrine of karma, the source of empowerment offered by Mount Sammeta is not located in the artistic representation of relics of use on top of the hill, nor granted by the mountain god Bhumiaji, who is worshipped before the ascent, but predicated on acts of ascetic self-exertion, which themselves are physical forms of self-empowerment, not mere acts of veneration of asceticism. Yet, as the following slides and the rest of the paper intends to show, it is only the belief in the former presence of the jinas which furnishes the inspiration for such extraordinary practices of voluntary self-mortification. Right, so here you have the basic argument. Now I have a free hand to stop at any moment. I would like to provide supporting evidence for my argument. This is the standard doctrinal view which everyone knows, as summarized by Padmanabh Jain. Jains have decried all forms of respect shown to inanimate objects such as fields, stones, mounds, or mountains. They see sacredness instead in renunciations, which is attributed to a group of people, the ascetics, who embody renunciation and render other things sacred and pure only by their association with those people. However, in history, obviously, many tirthas have been created despite this canonical view, and I run very quickly through a number of slides here, just to recollect different types of tirthas: Bhava tirtha, Dravya tirtha, the physical tirthas, and the Gambaras distinguish between Siddha kshetras and Atishaya kshetras, i.e. Places where the jinas have reached nirvana, and places which are completely unconnected with particular events in history, but with images that are supposed to have chamatkari, miraculous powers. A short historical note: the concept of the 24 Tirthankaras seems to have emerged only relatively recently, only 2,000 years ago, other than 2,500. It is, of course, debatable, but there is no historical evidence in text older than those listed here. The Tirthankara Kalyanaka Bhumis, the sites of the 5 important events in the life of a Tirthankara, obviously predicated on the concept of 24. Here you have the names listed, they overlap for particular Tirthankaras. You see the select number of places. And the Tirthankara Nirvana Bhumis, so the ultimate place, the sacred places in this conception, are only very few, i.e. 10, count correctly, and the sources are indicated here as well. So we come to altogether 22 sacred places on the basis of the scriptures for the jinas. Most of them are located in modern Bihar, as everyone knows, and I don't have to get into this. This is on the pilgrimage circuit here. Nowadays, most of these sites are under the control of Jain Shvetambara Samaj in Calcutta, though one could say more about the organizational aspects. The principal Jain Tirthagiris mountains, if you like, however, are not in eastern India, but in Gujarat, Abu, Shatrunjaya and Girna, of which only Girna can claim some link with the Jinas. Abu and Shatrunjaya are clearly second level sacred sites, but it is interesting that the Jains have their most important pilgrimage sites on top of their mountains, of mountains, and removed from the hustle and bustle of the bazaar. This is from Christine Chochnacki's book. It shows how in medieval pilgrimage guides from Gujarat, mostly Gujarati pilgrimage sites are highlighted, and some of the most important tirthas in Bihar are completely left out. Sammeta Śikhara is not mentioned at all in these texts, which is strange, because 20 Tirthankaras are supposed to have died there, so it's clearly the most significant site, which is celebrated in Jain temples and form of chitra, patas, and we have here in the Potter's Bar temple one as well. They're venerated in one or another form like this. Here's the real Mount Sammeta, very beautifully located, the town of Madhuban. Office of the Shvetambara Murti Puja, one of the Tapagach Dharmashalas. You see there are a number of different monks associated with the Sammeta Śikhara. There is not, it is not under the control or under the influence of one particular sect. I think this image supports my argument that even the Jinas or not entirely sure who is represented there, but this is a classical form of a Jina. I must look closer, but is worshipping, as it were, the footprints, the padukas. It seems to indicate there's a kind of a hierarchy, at least sometimes, between padukas, the real imprints, the relics of use, and mere representations, the symbolic representations, as in Jina images. This is the god Bhumyaji, which represents the sacred mountain as a whole being sacred. It's not exactly a Jain concept, but it has been incorporated into the ritual culture of Sammeta Śikhara, and no one goes up the mountain without worshipping him. It's quite an arduous pilgrimage, and the elderly use this form and the sick. And the main focus is the spot where Parshvanatha supposedly died. Obviously, there's no evidence for it at all, but conventionally, the highest peak will do, and this is how it currently looks. However, there are many other so-called tongs, these smaller shrines for the other Tirthankaras. They all are represented by padukas, not images. And that is what interests me here, really. And these are obviously symbolic representations and not relics of use themselves, but that's another question. There's a great debate on who owns this mountain, as I mentioned before, and everywhere are some displays like this. The Digambars have done this, Ritambars have done that, and so on and so forth. And I run through this. Again, it